this off. Check this off. I'm Cynthia Sternquist, the mayor of Temple City, for those of you who might not know, and trust me, there are a lot of people who don't know. So I'd like to, first of all, take this opportunity to thank you for coming out. I know it's a very busy time of year for families, for work, there's parties, there's a lot going on. So welcome to our strategic planning community meeting. I know this is our second one, and unfortunately I had another event when you met the first time. So what is strategic planning? So for those of you who were here last time, you probably learned a lot about what strategic planning is. And for those of you who this is your first time, I'm just going to share a little bit about what strategic planning is. Strategic planning is an organizational management activity that is used to set priorities, focus energy and resources, strengthen operations, ensure that employees and other stakeholders are working towards common goals, establish agreement around intended outcomes, results, and assess and adjust the organization's direction in response to a changing environment. And we all know how quickly Temple City is changing in the environment around us. It is a disciplined effort that produces fundamental decisions and actions that shape and guide what an organization is, who it serves, what it does, and why it does it, with a focus on the future. Effective strategic planning articulates not only where an organization is going and the actions needed to make progress, but also how it will know if it is successful. It's measurable. So your work this evening will be to help us set priorities, focus energy and resources, strengthen operations, ensure that employees and other stakeholders are working toward common goals, establish agreement around intended outcomes, results, and assess and adjust the organization's direction in response to a changing environment. So I thank you for your time, efforts, and interest in providing a sustainable city for the next 40 to 50 years. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce Carl Bloom, our Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I just as, you know, we are where we are because you know, people have come before us. I'd just like to recognize Bobby McGowan. She was city council member and I believe mayor in the early 1990s. So thank you, Bobby, for coming here. I think the mayor's already laid out the groundwork, what this is all about. We're here to get your input, so I don't want to take any more of your time. I'd like to turn it over to Ann and Lily, the consultants we've hired to help us through this process, to take us through this evening.
Okay, I'm a little afraid of microphone feedback. Can you all hear me if I don't use the microphone? Okay, good. In the back of the room, keep me honest. If you can't hear me, give me a thumbs up and I'll make sure and speak a little bit louder. So how many of you joined us for the meeting November 21st? A few of you were here? Okay, excellent. So let me tell you a little bit about how tonight's going to work. So that way you can follow along. If you were here, it's going to be a little different than last time. And if this is your first time here, welcome. And we're going to share with you how we're going to get your input throughout the evening. So to begin with, I want to give you a little bit of information about what happened at last month's meeting. Then we're going to get into group discussions on really the top ideas that came out of the last meeting that we heard as a whole from the group. And then we want to give you what's happening next. Tonight, while it stops at this portion of community outreach for strategic planning, it doesn't end the discussion with the community about what we want to see in the future. And so we're going to talk to you about the general plan process that's coming up. and other ways that you can stay involved and make sure that your thumbprint is on the future of Temple City. So to begin with, let me tell you a little bit about last month's meeting. How many of you were able to pick up the handout that we had in the front of the room that has several pages stapled together? If you don't have one, hopefully a very nice neighbor sitting with you at the table will share, and we'll make sure that there's plenty of copies. This will also be posted online so that you can see that after the meeting tonight. What this provides for you is an overview of the comments that we heard from the group last month during our meeting. What we asked people who participated on November 21st was, first of all, to share with us what are the programs, events, and things that Temple City provides today that they utilize and they find valuable. And so each participant was able to give us their top 5 lists, things that they use today and they find valuable. We've captured all of those comments that we received from the participants at last month's meeting, and you'll see those way at the back, pages 8 through 14. Every single comment. There's numbers next to those comments. That's not a ranking system. We just captured each participant separately, 1 through 5. Some people even turned in 7 ideas. It was okay. They could break the rules and turn in 7. So you'll see those numbers there. Please don't pay any attention to those being in any kind of ranking order or priority order. But from those comments, what we were able to do was to see some themes that were coming out that people felt were very important in Temple City. And so we've summarized those themes for you as well. In addition to just in general what people find important that's happening in Temple City today, we wanted to hear from them in 6 specific initiatives that the city feels are very important. How people felt their ideas fit in with those initiatives. So we spent some time in small groups taking the comments that people brought and putting those in line with the 6 initiatives. And you see those again. We're going to start on page 1, down on top programs, events by initiative. So you see good governance, quality of life, sustainable infrastructure, public health and safety, citizen education and communication, and economic development. And each member of the public was able to, in their small groups, put their ideas or their programs and events into those 6 categories. In their small groups, we then ranked those ideas, and you will see the numbers that follow the bullet point ideas. Those were the rankings that came out of the small groups. And that's what caused us to come up with the kind of top 5 ideas that came out of the group's discussion. And we're going to get more into those with you this evening. The very last thing that we did with the group, because we didn't just want to talk about what's happening today, we did want to hear about future needs and values and ideas that the community has. And while that's part of the strategic plan, we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time on that. And the reason being is we're going to get to spend a whole lot more time on that through the general plan process. And we'll talk about that at the end of the meeting tonight. But you can see the very top category is what people who participated at the last meeting felt was important to see in the future as Temple City moves forward in the next 10, 20, even 30 years down the road. So all of those comments were captured here in this summary. This will move forward into the strategic plan's appendix of all the things that came through from the community outreach portion. Tonight, we're going to focus on the top 5 ideas that really were across the board important to the community. That may be a little bit frustrating because you may feel like, well, my idea didn't make the top 5, and I feel it's really important. We can still talk about that tonight, but we just won't be able to dig down quite as deep into all of the ideas that people were able to share with us. So hold on with us through the agenda tonight. We definitely will make sure you have an opportunity to share with us all of our thoughts. I'd like to introduce Ann, and she's going to share with you a little bit about where we're going in our next steps in the strategic plan process.
Good evening, and I am going to use the mic because I had a bit of a sore throat earlier today, so I don't want to talk too loud. So tonight it's December. Can everybody believe it's December? 2 weeks, people. And so here we are. We've already had the meeting last month, and we're having a community meeting tonight. And I just want to comment a little bit about the importance of the community input and where the community input falls into the overall strategic planning document. As the mayor said in her introduction, and I'm going to say this in about 2 or 3 sentences, a strategic plan includes the what are we doing, looking to the future, where are we going, how, what are the programs that we're going to be focusing on. And the other piece of it is how. How are we going to get there? And that's what makes a strategic plan a unique document in the city. When you do a parks master plan, or you do the general plan, or you do a street plan, all of that is really more about the what. It talks about the details of what goes into those plans. But the strategic plan, a big part of it is process. And the real work that gets done at the city, when the projects are actually being implemented, many of them occur with the staff, the city council, and of course commissions that are appointed to also provide input into the process. So in January, there will be a study session between the staff and the city council that really gets to the how. We've now heard from the community. We see what they're thinking about the future of the community. How are we going to make this happen for them? How are we going to work together to make sure that the projects that come forward are things that meet these strategic planning goals? And so the next step will be, after tonight, we'll sort of go away for a few weeks and work behind the scenes to bring forward the next set of decisions that need to be made by the council and the staff. And that will be the discussion in January, and I believe that's scheduled for January 11th. That's a Saturday, and so we'll be spending some time in a workshop type setting at that time. And then after that, we'll be able to develop the actual document. And a strategic planning effort is partly a document, but it's also a series of actions and that take place. And those will be brought forward to the council at the end of January for adoption, for discussion and adoption at a formal council meeting. Does anybody have any questions about that before we move on? Okay. So the 6 initiatives that Jennifer mentioned at the beginning that were sort of the basis for the first discussion were good governance, citizen education and communication, and economic development, sustainable infrastructure, quality of life, and public health and safety. And I just want to say a little bit about where those came from. The City Council have talked in the past about priorities. And so the council has developed these priorities that have been an ongoing theme. And prior to, around the time we started this process, we spoke to the council members again, and they were able to provide these 6 broad categories that will really sort of drive the overall strategic planning framework. And then tonight, did you want me to talk about these? Okay, so these are the big 5 initiatives that came out of last month's meeting. And again, as Jennifer said, we tried to group certain topics under some of these headings, and you'll see that some of them are very similar to the initiatives that I just read. But there may be topics that fall outside of these 5, or that you feel really don't fit neatly in the 5, and those are the ones that we will continue to keep sort of on the sidelines, continue to put them on lists, but they're not the topics that we'd be discussing tonight. So tonight, one of the top topics that came up are creative partnerships between the city and the school district. This seemed to be something that the community, that resonated with the community quite a bit at the last meeting. And do you want me to talk about the tables yet, or do you want to do that part? Okay. The second one is re-energize downtown. So this includes improvements, this includes business development and business strengthening. Many comments came up at the last meeting that fell into either business development or specifically the downtown area itself. The third one is empowered neighborhoods, and this really has to do with neighborliness. how are we working together in our residential neighborhoods to make sure that we have a community that we want to live in, that we're proud of, where we know our neighbors, etc. And so programs like Neighborhood Watch, code compliance, other things that bring you together with your neighbors would be into that category. The fourth category was innovative recreation programming, and this also includes public events. This community is rich with recreation programs and public programs and events, but there was still an interest in, can we even do more? And so that issue came up. And the last category is really about governance. It's really about, we need to always be thinking about the ways we're communicating. How is the city communicating to the community? How is the city listening back to what the community is having input on? How are we making our decisions very, very clear and understandable to the community? And how are we engaging? And this gets back to that very first priority, or the second priority on the previous screen. This is a community that's very diverse and but close-knit. And so how do we make sure everybody feels like they have an avenue into participating? And the city has made great strides on this already, but still more ideas. People have more ideas. So those are the top 5 big issues that we're going to be segueing in tonight.
So because we want to spend some time really digging down deep and understanding the priorities of the community, we wanted to take time and talk specifically about these 5 issues with you more on a one-on-one basis. So we have very sneakily put you into groups tonight without you knowing. And the tables that you're sitting at are the 5 groups. Note the 5 tables. See how we did that magically. So on my right here, this is our table that's going to be discussing the partnership between the city and the schools. To my left is going to be re-energizing downtown. Right here in the middle, you're going to be talking about neighbors and what makes us neighborly, which is terrific. And then on the back right-hand side, we have innovative recreation programs. Left-hand side, we're going to be talking about transparency, government relations, information, and engagement. Now, in case you're going, I don't want to be sitting at the table that I'm sitting at and talking about the topic that I'm talking about. That's okay. You are able to move to the table of your choice of what you would like to talk about. However, if everybody came and moved to the neighborhood table, we would not have a chance to really get on one-on-one with the individuals. And they'd kick you out. She just, no. There you go. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to ask that we try to disperse somewhat equally. How you are right now is terrific. These are great group sizes. And then we're going to take a break and we're going to let you move around to another group that you would like to talk about. And even if there's time, we might be able to take a third break and have you move to another group. If you feel very strongly that you'd like to move now and just start off in a discussion in one of the other groups, please feel free to do so. So at this point, I'm going to ask if the facilitators that are going to take each table, if you're not already there, if you can head to your table, man your stations, if you will. And recorders, go ahead and grab your pens. So again, at your specific topics, what we want you to do is get into the details about what this means, how it looks, what the values are that you see under this specific topic. If you have questions, your facilitator and your recruiter will be able to help
I'm in the Parks and Rec Commission.
And then involved. I see the first long chairs there, and I'm on a dead end when people go up and down and sitting on chairs.
Is there like a scholarship program for families that can't afford Teen Zone?
There is a small scholarship program through the Community Development Block Grant Program.
And this is something that kids pay for on a daily basis, weekly, monthly?
I think it's on a monthly basis, or one through the program, which could be a number of weeks, as a recreation.
Parks and Rec program where they use Parks and Rec program. That's where the kids dance basketball.
Yeah, preschool class, exercise class, dance class, fitness class. One of the things I think that's what brought out the park master plan is the populations and implementing a lot more. Most of our programs are offered, a majority is for the youth. So I think we need to beef up and more active with those programs.
They talked about it, and did they resolve the problem? And then that comes along with it. So if you've got a computer, it's really great because bang, it's right there. And in fact, I got an email. It's got a lot of time.
Involved in Neighborhood Watch. That's why I'm here.
Great. So this is the Empowered Neighborhood section. So at the last meeting, we got a lot of really great comments. One of them was, a lot of people want to get to know their neighbor. And, part of getting to know your neighbor is also empowering your neighborhood. So, going along the lines of Neighborhood Watch, when you're out of town and, if you can trust your neighbor to watch your house and, you really build a community that way. So if we continue on that mode, then we really create an empowered neighborhood. So right now, let's go over what's working. So I hear that we have a few people from Neighborhood Watch. So is that something that you guys all, believe is working really well? And if so, should we continue this Neighborhood Watch program, continue to improve it, or is it something that we could maybe switch resources to? Like if you guys don't find that Neighborhood Watch is working really well, then maybe we should look to the sheriff's.
Okay. John.
The walking trail, the jogging trail. Yeah.
I don't know what park it is.
Almanzar Park, yeah.
Yes, Almanzar Park.
By the golf course.
So William, we'll walk on a trail around, kind of sitting around. Rosemead Park has a lot.
Yeah, Rosemead.
That is a great, I love that path in Rosemead Park. Yeah, on Encinita, just south of Lower Azusa. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, I haven't heard from you ladies. What ideas do you have?
She lives on Rosemead Boulevard. I'm thinking about all the great new backpacks and walkers we have.
And what they have, they list all their businesses and then they offer discounts.
So like promotions, kind of like being a sponsor.
So that could be another program. Under that, you could also put some kind of a brochure,
A flyer.
Is there anything in the Connect magazine now that says shop local, here's a list of businesses, or, okay, so maybe on your website, you could have even an interactive map or something that could show you where to go in the Connect magazine. Good.
She also mentioned they offer discounts.
Yes.
So like incentives, like promotions. Advertise, okay. What about if we had maybe some ideas? I'm thinking like I would consider my
it just lists some things and it's not. That would be kind of
Do they do that now?
I don't believe so, but I mean, they kind of
East-west street, right? We are going to be like access. Yeah. So, you know, that's another thing that we're trying to encourage people to do, not just for recreational purposes, but also if you have to make it routes.
Yeah. We don't want to look Oh, no.
Asks you to go to those neighbors, fill in the blank, and then this way you can stay in touch with each other, those neighbors. It's kind of on your own. It's like, hey, you know what? So that we can call each other back to
Make them feel more connected.
No, we're doing pretty good at the, well, I think that the parking is a big thing, but it's working,
See, I think what we're doing well too is we're identifying where we do lack parking space, and the city is moving forward and purchasing those spaces.
That's awesome. Good. How do you stop it?
Business is businesses the restaurant.
Right.
Anyway, good or bad? I want to add some non-strike.
You don't have a strike? Can you think of one?
Don't you think they have strike in
That's a strength.
Or downtown? Okay. That's okay. Immediately, I'm going to wake up.
work, I call my neighbors. They're in front of your house. What's going on? So is not there. I want to know what's happening. Go out there and see what's happening. They got there was nothing happening, but we never have them. And immediately we see something different than everybody said.
Question for you. If something like that happens, can residents call the station and say, I see stray cops on my street. Can you tell us what's going on? Are you able to tell us anything, or it depends on what it is?
Obviously, it depends on the situation, but you can always call and inquire. Absolutely. We're not, I mean, even if it is an emergency situation, let's say you have an emergency going on, we may listen.
A lot of people are on their cell phones wandering around.
Is that what we need? No.
No what the government.
Wi-Fi.
All the calls inside the bicycle.
Wi-Fi.
Oh, the Wi-Fi, yes. Well, we do have Wi-Fi paid for by e-racing.
Don't we have that?
So that's actually cheaper.
If you received the handout tonight and you have not yet had an opportunity to get all of your comments down, there is a fabulous blank page right on the back of your handout tonight. This is your opportunity to give us more of your thoughts. We are going to bring your attention back up front. We want to talk about what's coming next and how you can stay involved in the conversation. So if you haven't had a chance yet to make your comments, feel free to use the back of your handouts, and we will gladly collect those tonight. If I can have Mark come and join me. Mark's going to share with us a little bit about the general plan and what's happening next with the general plan discussion.
Are we moving again? No, not necessarily.
So, good evening, I will say, I'm not going to use this. So, nobody's ever said they couldn't hear me. I can't hear you. All right, somebody said they couldn't hear me. But I just want to say thank you all very much for coming. Kind of the next steps, it's great to see so much engagement here over the last 2 meetings. The strategic plan now that we've done all of the brainstorming, kind of the work starts for the staff and the city council to figure out how to really put all of this stuff into action. As the mayor said, and Ann and Jennifer kind of echoed, we actually need to put this into action. We need to say what happens next. So we're going to be meeting on a Saturday workshop on the 11th, and then the council of January, and the council will be adopting this on the 21st of January. After that, what starts is the general plan process. The general plan is much more far-reaching and much longer time horizon. The general plan really looks at the next 25 to 35 years in Temple City. We branded it the General Plan 2050. You know, we need to think big and we need to think long about what are we leaving to the next generation of Temple Cities. I mean, with all due respect, we're not planning the city for me or for, you know, people in the room that are 50 and older. We're really planning Temple City for, you know, the elementary school children, the high school students who will presumably go off to college, and a good percentage of them are going to want to come back and raise their families in Temple City. So the general plan really looks at everything that the city does in terms of land use, development, transportation, parks and open space, public safety, emergency preparedness. So as you can see, it's very far-reaching. The plan, it's a 2-year-long process, engagement process with the community. The city council will be appointing in January a general plan advisory committee, and that's a citizens committee that will be doing what we did here, brainstorming ideas in all of these topic areas that I just talked about. There will be lots of opportunity for you guys to get involved in the general plan process, and the time frame on that, again, is to have that done in 2 years. So to have the city council adopt it, hopefully, if all goes well, on or around Christmas Eve of 2015. So I don't know if there are any questions on the general plan process. Any quick comments or thoughts that people have?
There will be public hearings on the general plan.
There will be many, many public hearings, yes. The general plan will, the Citizens Advisory Committee will be basically working with staff and the consultants brainstorming this, and then it will go to the Parks and Recreation Commission, it will go to the Public Arts Commission, it will go to the Planning Commission, and each one of those bodies will make a formal recommendation to the council, and each one of those bodies will have public hearings, and then the council will have 2, 3, 4, 5 public hearings. Some cities, depending upon where you are, you can have 25 public hearings.
And Mark, isn't it true even before those public hearings, we'll be doing workshops just like we're doing tonight?
Absolutely.
We're going to get to dig into these topics, yes, even on a more detailed level, and talk about what's happening with circulation, parking. We talked a lot about parking, yes, traffic, transportation, land use, parks and open space. Right. So this is not the end of these types of discussions that will carry over to the general plan as well.
So other final thoughts? I don't know how we're...
So we wanted to wrap up as well and have Tracy share a little bit about how this ties into priority-based budgeting as well.
Good evening. I do have to use the microphone. So I don't know how many of you were here for our first public meeting with our stakeholders, but I did a pretty extensive presentation on our priority-based budgeting program I was engaged in. And generally we identify what we do and why we do it. And so each department has put together a list of programs, and we have ranked them based on a couple different criteria, including are they federally, state, or local mandated? Are there other agencies, nonprofits, or private industry that can provide the services that we do? And a couple other different criteria. And we have just completed identifying all of our programs and ranking them. And so we now have a list of all the services provided to the community and all the governance programs that we do. And so staff is going to be looking at those rankings over the next few weeks, and then we are going to conclude and present the findings to the City Council at the strategic planning session on January 11th. So what we, not hoping, what's going to happen is we are going to gather all this information that you gave us input in tonight, and then we're going to look at what we're currently doing, and we're going to match those up. And we may be looking at realigning resources in a different way and providing services and programs that all of you have given us input on tonight. So there's no questions on that, then I will turn it over to Jennifer.
So last but not least, what we want to make sure that you're aware of is the city's MakeTCHappen.com website, which you can access. It has a link on the city's website that will take you there. But Make TC Happen is going to be the hub of information where you're going to be able to stay involved in the conversation, not only from tonight, but tying you into the general plan as well. So you're going to want to make sure you remember MakeTCHappen.com. If you forget it, you can go to the city's website and link that way as well. What we really want to make sure is that you take away from tonight to tell a friend about what's coming next. This is such an important time in your city to be able to have a voice in the decisions that are going to be made for the future that are going to impact you and the next generations is such an important value that you get to have. And so we're hopeful that you'll share with your coworkers, friends, and neighbors about these upcoming opportunities and encourage them to participate as well. With that, anybody else?
Just a quick announcement. If you haven't signed in already, please sign in. I know you guys receive a lot of emails from me, but I want to make sure that you guys are continually informed about the things that are going on in the city. So if you guys want to be the first to know the tabulation for all the meeting notes and all of that, you'll get the first dibs on that. So it'll go on the website, but I will go ahead and send out the email to everyone here if you guys sign in, and continue to look forward to it.
I was asked to make one more clarification point or expansion, I guess, on the general plan. I think a lot of people have heard of one of the things that everybody really cares, I think, about in their community is land use and zoning. And that is really, you know, it's always hard. I was telling Ann, how do you describe a general plan in 30 seconds? I think probably the best thing that everybody grabs onto, and Councilmember Yu pointed this out, the general plan is really about, you know, what are the future uses, what is the future zoning of the city of Temple City. So I'm glad that you brought that point up, and I just wanted to maybe close on that and again say thank you all very much.
Great. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for sharing your insight with us, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next meetings as well. Have a great holiday season.